Hey guys, Fear Spartans here, and last week EA dropped their top 10 team power rankings, including their top 25 best teams in college football 25 to start the year. As you can see here, the rankings are subject to change in future updates, but I'm pretty sure these are going to be the day one top 10, top 25 best teams in the game. Hopefully, they'll still do a day one patch to fix the Colorado ranking because I don't think that's justified at this point. If Colorado has a really good year, then yeah, sure, give them a top 25 ranking. But as of now, it's really tough to say that Colorado should have a top 25 ranking. But we'll just have to wait and see if they make any day one adjustments. But for now, as I said, this seems to be the top 25. And these rankings seem a little bit low. Like the overall numbers are a little low compared to other NCAA football games or just other sports video games in general. I think in NCAA football 14, pretty sure Alabama was like a 99 overall. So usually you see like a 99, a 98, maybe a couple 96s or a 97. But here, the number one team, Georgia, is only 95 overall. So I was a little surprised at that, but maybe they're just saving to bump up those rankings later on in the year as we get into the college football playoff rankings and then eventually the college football playoff. I think they'll start to bump these up for basically our top 12, college football playoff teams. So number one, Georgia, no problems there. I think they're definitely probably the best team. And then at number two, Ohio State, I think it's definitely Georgia, Ohio State 1, 2. I think it could really go either way, but I think those are by far the best two teams in the country. Uh, they need their quarterbacks to play well, but they have such a good supporting cast around them. And then also on the defensive side of the ball, they're just both so good that it's going to be tough to see them not making the college football playoff. And they're basically almost guaranteed it feels like, to be honest. But they do have both have fairly tough schedules, so we'll see if they can do it. Especially Georgia. Georgia has a pretty insane schedule, to be honest, for Georgia. So number one, two, three through five, I feel like you can change these any way you want. Oregon, Alabama, Texas. I mean, they're definitely that second tier of teams this year, it seems like. Oregon got Dylan Gabriel, and their defense is being really hyped up this year. Usually they sometimes have like one really good like defensive player, and then the rest are usually just good athletes, and that usually gets them enough. But this year they're really hyping it up this year as a pretty solid defense for Oregon. So we'll see, especially with them now in the Big Ten. Alabama with their new head coach, losing Saban, they probably lost a bit, so we'll see if they can, stay in that upper echelon of teams here. But uh, they have such good players still that I'm sure they'll do just fine. And then Texas was back last year. Let's see if they can keep it together. They lost a couple of high-profile guys, but they've just been rebuilding the last couple of years. So I think they're still in a pretty good position to make the college football playoff, but they are now in the SEC, so probably going to have a couple more losses than they did last year. Number 6 through 10, this is pretty solid, I'd say. I mean, no huge complaints. I think these are, for the most part, the next best set of teams. I was kind of surprised by how high Clemson was at number 6. I think maybe part of that ranking is there are a couple of national championships since the last college football video game, but I think they're due for a bounce back year this year. And at number 7, Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a fairly good schedule because they're independent, so they don't have to play in the tough Big Ten or in SEC or not even the Big 12. They get a lot of ACC teams in there, so that really helps them out. At number 8, LSU. Losing Jaden Daniels will be tough. I'm sure their defense will be better. I mean, it was pretty bad last year. It can't really be worse for LSU defensively. So if Brian Kelly can get that fixed, then LSU should be a pretty tough team in the SEC this year once again. Number 9, Penn State. It's all on Drew Aller to essentially prove himself. They should have a really good defense. They get Ohio State at home. I don't know if it'll be a night game whiteout, It definitely should. I'm sure Fox will probably screw it up and put it at big noon kickoff, but that would be such a nice game to see, at night in a whiteout. Number 10, Utah. Utah's been really good recently, moving to the Big 12. See if they can keep things together. I think they'll probably do that. I think it's pretty much Utah, Kansas State, and then maybe UCF or Oklahoma State for the Big 12 title this year. But there's sometimes some shockers in the Big 12, so we'll just have to wait and see. Outside the top 10, we have Michigan, the defending champions, at number 11. It was kind of hard to justify a top 10 ranking for them this year, to be honest, with how much they lost in the offseason. Even though I'm a Michigan State fan, I think 11's a pretty solid ranking for how much they've lost. I'm sure they'll still be really good running the ball with Donovan Edwards. They'll probably still have a really good defense, but besides that, they lost quite a bit of pieces. So we'll just have to wait and see. Florida State, I think that's fairly fine. They have DJ now. I think they'll, have the nice ACC schedule. It'll just probably come down to them. Clemson, maybe Virginia Tech or something in the ACC. 13 and 14, I think, are a little too high to start the year. They are both due for better seasons. They've had a lot of really good recruits, but they just haven't put together the wins. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. I think they're just too high, though, at 13 and 14. At 15, Ole Miss, I think that's a little low, to be honest. I'm really high on Ole Miss this year. I think they'll probably make the college football playoff. They have, just a really good offense as usual under Lane Kiffin, and if their defense can just improve, marginally, then they'll do what they need to do and get the wins they need. At number 16, we've talked about this in our last couple of videos with the top 25 offenses and top 25 defenses. I just don't get why Colorado is being ranked in the top 25. I'm sure they'll have a better season than last year, but they are moving into the Big 12, so that will be different for them. I think that the top 25 preseason ranking is just not really justified for them. So, if they're losing games, I'm sure they'll probably get dropped out with a lower ranking pretty quickly. At number 17, Oklahoma also move into the SEC with Texas. See if they can hold on for a top 25 ranking. Their defense is definitely improving under Brent Venables, but I don't know if it's going to be enough offensively to, win games in the SEC. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. Wisconsin love for sure in these rankings. They always seem to get a pretty solid preseason ranking just because they can pretty much usually run the ball fairly well, and their defense is usually solid. It's just, can they ever have a quarterback who can put enough points on the board to win them games? And basically, since Russell Wilson, they really haven't had those guys there to win the games at quarterback. So maybe this year's different. They have Luke Fickell as the coach year 2 here, so maybe he can get things turned around. USC 19, they've lost quite a bit, and their defense was not good the last couple of years, so I am not really expecting too much out of them this year in the Big Ten. I think down the road, I think they'll return to being a powerhouse if they can keep their coach and he can recruit those quarterbacks he needs and then just get better defensively. But I think this year, I think it might be a little tough for USC in the Big Ten. Number 20 and 21, honestly, the 20 through 25, I mean, I love all these teams. These teams should all be pretty good. Absolutely love the Virginia Tech love. I mean, when Virginia Tech's doing well, the college football is just so much more fun to watch, especially when they have it rolling. 21, NC State. A lot of people are high on NC State this year. I don't know if they'll do enough to get past Virginia Tech, Clemson, Florida State, Miami. We'll wait and see, I guess. But there's a lot of tougher teams, it seems like, this year in the ACC. So that's really good for that conference that's, trying to stay around, to be honest, with the SEC and Big Ten just taking every single team, it seems. Number 22, Kansas. The last couple of years have been pretty good. They somehow have kept their coach through all these, coaching carousels. It's surprising that he's still there at Kansas. They're going to be getting a new stadium here, so I think they're playing at Arrowhead possibly for some of their games this year. Um, so that should be fun for, Kansas football if they can, keep things going. If not, then they're going to be having a lot of empty seats. 23, Arizona had a really good year last year in a very good Pac-12. That was very shocking to see. Let's see if they can keep it up in year two. Now moving over to the Big 12. Uh, Speaking of the Big 12, Oklahoma State, with Oklahoma and Texas leaving the Big 12, that's prime opportunity for Oklahoma State and maybe TCU to kind of become dominant and, be competing for the Big 12 title year in and year out. And then to round out the top 25, got to have Iowa in there. Their defense is just so good every year, even though their offense can never put any points on the board. So I think a 25 ranking is pretty justified for them. Uh, and yeah, so that's the top 25. I think it's fairly good, obviously, with a couple exceptions I've mentioned. I think, it's too much hype just buying into recruiting rankings. It seems like EA's done, but it is what it is. That's pretty much every college football ranking you usually see. So I'm super excited for the season to start in about like a month and a half now, uh, less than 2 months till Labor Day weekend, and we got the week zero games too, like late August. So that will be a lot of fun. Games coming out next week, so can't wait to play it. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Thanks for watching.